Hey there, everybody. David Coyer here for episode number 2 of the Austin Bruins Coaches Show. Joining me, as always, is head coach Steve Howard. Coach, how are you doing this week?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Probably a little less as well as you, because we like to talk about sports other than hockey here with the Austin Bruins. Last week, I was talking with Nathan Williams about his Detroit sports fandom. You're a big Detroit guy. Lions, Tigers, doing fantastic. Let's talk about those Detroit Tigers first in the MLB playoffs for the first time in many, many, many years since the last time they were in the World Series. And last night, a big 3-0 victory. How are you feeling now that some Detroit sports are kind of being represented as some of these top teams after maybe a few years of struggling?
Yeah, no, it's fun to be a Detroit fan right now. The Tigers, they're all young. I think everybody's seen that. I think their entire team's getting it's 28.5 million is their salary right now for the entire team, and the Houston Astros when they just beat them, the pitcher they were going up against makes more than the entire Tigers baseball team, which was crazy to see. That guy was making 29 million, and you know, with that said, they're all young, and I just hope that they keep all those guys around because I'm sure the Yankees and Cleveland and all the big ticket guys like Houston, they're gonna be circling the wagons and trying to grab some of those guys. So
And that ended the Tigers, I should say, ended one of the longer streaks in baseball of the Houston Astros, making it all the way to the ALCS or further, bouncing them in the first round, like you mentioned, losing game one to the Cleveland Guardians, winning last night. So some fun stuff happening
yeah,
in Detroit with the Tigers. And talking about your Lions, you like to say "Go Lions" on the bus, and when we're exiting the bus, that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm a Packers fan. I've talked about that extensively with Nathan Williams last week. Lions 3-1 start, second in the NFC North, right behind the undefeated Vikings, which I'm sure a lot of Bruins fans are happy about, but it's got to be a good time to be a Lions fan too.
it is. We had a lot of hard years, and that's the thing is, you guys in Green Bay celebrated tons of good quarterbacks, wins, championships. And it's just, for us Lions fans, it's been a long drought. And for us to have something to cheer for and believe in and get excited about every Sunday, that's a different change of pace. And I just, Dan Campbell, who wouldn't want to play for that guy?
I wanted to play for Dan Campbell.
Yeah, so he's a great coach, and he's a motivator. Those are all things that I think everybody can see, and you're obviously seeing it in the field with the players. They're all doing well, and hopefully they keep it going. I know it's gonna be they're coming to Minneapolis here in a couple weeks,
and
so
you're going to be at that
I'm
game.
gonna be at that game.
He's going to be right there cheering on his Lions,
That's
hoping
right.
for a victory.
Yeah.
See, you mentioned, and I always have this conversation with people. Obviously being a Green Bay fan, I'm in a generation where we know nothing but success. There was that long period of time of Packers drought of being the laughing stock of the NFL. But you say all those wins, the championships, I've only seen one in my lifetime, and we see a lot of playoff early exits. It's sometimes tough to be a Packers fan, and I know Vikings fans and Lions fans don't want to hear it, but that's my soapbox. I'll step off of it now because we got more important things to talk about. You guys want to hear about some Austin Bruins hockey. The Bruins with a 3-0 sweep of the North American Hockey League showcase. That's what we were talking about the last time here. We were here with the coaches show, including an exciting 2-1 overtime victory against the New Mexico Ice Wolves. Just to kind of start things out, Coach, talk about the showcase and talk about, not only did the Bruins win 3 out of 3 games, but a lot of good performances from some of the players. And of course, the big thing we talked about from the showcase was getting looked at by some of those scouts. So just kind of talk about the team's performance up at the showcase.
Yeah, I think obviously the first game was a great one for us to get out of the gates there. We ended up beating Elmira 6-1, and to show up and have a good start was huge. We carried that into the next game, New Hampshire, and I think the score was 4-1. We uh, we had one little breakdown, a young mistake being made in the third period. Otherwise, I think we keep them off the board. But We try to face off play that we probably shouldn't have been trying in a 3-0 game. It's more of a thing that you want to do if you really desperately need a goal late. And unfortunately, it backfired and it ended up in a 2-on-1 or a breakaway going the other way. So, that was unfortunate, but it was still a good game. And then we got to New Mexico, and honestly, that game I wasn't real happy with, just because we didn't play like we did the first two games, and we were off structurally. And when we're not seeing our systems being played to a T and being detailed, then it gets a little frustrating as a coach, because you're saying you're telling all the guys that they need to do this, this, and this, but when it's not translating and they're not doing it, it gets a little frustrating. We found a way to win, which I was proud of the guys to do that. They went in OT, and it was a great little play from Luke Malkasian to Alex Lorenza. But realistically, I felt like we should have showed up and played all 60 minutes versus just the last few. So
And coming out of that game, like you said, not playing your structures, felt like everything was a little bit off. That seemed to almost carry in a little bit to this past weekend. First time playing the Minot Minotauros since the playoffs last year. Home opener this past Friday. A tough loss for the Bruins. From up in the press box, kind of looked a little bit, as you mentioned, not playing the structures that you kind of implemented and almost perfected those first couple of games. Almost felt like you're playing a little bit more on the heels during the game against Minot. Can you just talk a little bit about the performance and what you kind of observed in that game, as opposed to maybe the first three games of the season with some of those blowouts against North Iowa, Elmira, New Hampshire?
yeah, so Friday night we came out flat. It all starts with the very first shift. We were turning over the puck so much. You just can't do that, especially against a team like Minot. Minot came in with bad intentions, and they were hunting pucks, and we weren't hunting, and we were turning the puck over. We were very casual with it, is what we call it, or nonchalant. And it started right off the bat. I think Willie, one of our leaders, gets the puck, and he tries to go across the grain in front of his own net, turns it over, and we're chasing them around our end for about 45 seconds before we get the next line out there. And when we do, it's because we got a dump and change. Well, they're turning it up quick and playing in our zone, and for us, we want to play in their zone, and they did a good job of keeping us on our heels, as you said. And that game was just it was a bad game in a lot of ways, but it was obvious why it was so bad. And we watched some video on Saturday, and I thought we came out and played a much better game Saturday, but unfortunately, you're killing off 8 penalties. That's 16 minutes in the box. It's tough to win that way. They scored two power play goals that, you know, you can argue all day long if they were penalties or not. But the bottom line is, we put ourselves in a bad spot. And we're playing against some of the guys in Minot who've been in the league for 3 years. They took advantage of those, and we ended up losing that one. It was a tight one. Ended up losing that 4-2 with an empty netter. Um, but then we got to regroup and go play on Sunday, which was, I think, a blessing in disguise for us. Normally 3-3s are not, but we got to go up and play the Mallards for the first time in franchise history. And, our guys really bounced back. I think we're still making some early season rookie mistakes. We were up 3-1, and then we were controlling the game, and we had two breakdowns. That one led to a breakaway, the other one led to a 2-on-1, and they found the back of the net. They were an opportunistic team that night. In the meantime, we were out shooting them, I think 35-10 or something like that. And so, for us to pull that one out, they still made it a game. They hung in there, and they got within one with about a minute left, and that was when Paddington got that final insurance goal with about 6 seconds left. Just they had pulled the goalie in 6-on-5, and he was fortunate enough to get an empty netter. So it was good for us to get back in the win column. I think the guys got to understand, and they're starting to learn that there's, I always tell people, is the hockey teams all have a Jekyll and Hyde, or they got their alter ego, right? And so we're starting to figure out how we identify, as the Bruins, and when we identify as that team that's not us. And finding that work ethic beat is huge. And I love the showcase, but I think this year, I think it's the last year they're going to have the Olympic sheet up there, and they're changing all four of the front rinks and the super rink to NHL sized rinks, and every team in our division, I think, has a NHL sized rink, but I think our guys kind of thought they had that much time, and the two home games, we're turning over the puck because they're thinking they got all this time, and our division's not played that way. Our division. Everybody will argue and be biased about their division and say they're the best, but I truly believe that the Central Division is the best division. It just there's good coaches, uh, and I think structurally the guys all play a very quick, fast style. All the teams in our division, and Minot was on top of us, and we were once again too casual. And you can be casual to showcase because you got a few extra feet to work with, but we didn't have that here, and it showed on our power play. They were able to keep us off the board on the power play both nights. And fortunately for them, they were 0-11 before we played them. Their power play was 0-11, and here they are, they scored multiple goals both nights, and that's tough to win. You got to win the. I think every other game we've won the special teams battle is what I tell the guys. You got to win the special teams battle. You got to kill more penalties than they do, and you got to make sure that our power play creates positive momentum every time it's on the ice. And I think our power play created positive momentum for them, and that's not good. So, um, we got back on the power play side of things on Sunday, but we got to remember what Minot did to us here.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it there at the end, so I want to kind of maybe dive a little bit further into it. Penalty kill for the Bruins, allowing 5 goals, 14 chances against Minot. 6 power play goals on the weekend. There was one there against Minnesota on Sunday. For a team that had not allowed a penalty kill or allowed a power play goal through the first 4 games, that had really been one of the best, in fact, the best penalty kill unit through those first 4 games, including scoring 2 shorthanded goals. What kind of happened did you see in that Minot series, allowing so many goals?
Yeah, well, number one, I think the first power play goal that was scored on us was a 5-on-3. So it's tough. 5-on-3 scenario. There's only three guys. They have five. We've already killed off a couple of 5-on-3s this year. So they get that first one, and then a couple breakdowns happen on the second one there. And when you leave a guy wide open and he has a gaping net to shoot at, they took advantage of it. So I think we just got out of our structure on how we defend or kill. And when you do that, it's a scenario that they have one extra guy. It's not like we're going to go the entire season without being scored on. But we definitely didn't want to make it easy for them. And unfortunately, like 5-on-3s, they're going to have some easy shots, and they did a good job of taking our goalie's eyes away. The second one was a great shot. It was just one of those, like, you just flat out beat them. But yeah, then on Saturday night, there was a couple of plays where we missed an assignment, had bad sticks, and they were able to find a guy wide open and get the puck to go in. So uh, it's an ongoing thing throughout the year. It's all about the pre-scout. It's all about finding out which guys are more dangerous on the power play is probably the term I'm looking for, because looking at their power play unit going 0 for 11 before they came in here, it's tough to gauge. Like, okay, well, we knew Johannesson scored a lot of goals last year. We knew Small scored a lot of goals. They lost a lot of guys that were on that power play last year. So, we had to make our own little adjustments in game, and unfortunately, they were able to pop a few on us, and those were the difference makers in the games.
And kind of wrapping things up about last weekend. You've played in this league, and you had a long playing career, and then now you're a coach. You've been coaching for a while as well, especially here with the Bruins, 8 seasons under your belt. After starting a season 4-0, and then coming into what happened this last weekend, not only losses but almost blowouts, if you will. Uh, what's the reaction from kind of riding the highest of highs to kind of, all right, being a little bit humbled? What's the reaction? What's the emotion, both as a player and then now in your coaching career?
Um, Well, let's look at it from a player's perspective. You know, players want to win every night. They'll come to the rink and they'll compete. It was a lot easier as a player because you control a lot. As a coach, it's tough. I don't sleep very much after losses. I watch a lot of film. I think about what could have been, what we should have did different, who played well, who didn't. It's a scenario that I think all of us coaches live with. That's it's from game to game. You can be on, as you said, way up in cloud nine and all the way up at the top, and after a win, but a loss is completely flipped. It's never easy. But as a player, it's about facing the adversity throughout the year. Like that's what makes good teams great. And we've talked about it here. Like, I warned those guys, like we're having some success. I said at some point we're going to face a little adversity, whether it's a loss, whether it's just how things are going as far as injuries, maybe it's sickness on off the ice, maybe it's stuff that you have going on at home. Everybody faces adversity, and I think that's what makes people uh, get through that little bit of a drought, I guess. It's one of those scenarios that if you can handle the adversity well and you can battle through it, you always make yourself better. And I think the good teams they realize when they've had a little adversity hit them, and they come together and they play through it. Which is why once again I thought Sunday was a blessing in disguise. We went out there, we played a really good hockey game, put up a ton of shots. We had a lot of zone time. We just, we're still making a few of those little mistakes that, we can't be making in another month, that's for sure. So, our division, I tell everybody, like, it's really, really good after Christmas. Like, there's not a whole lot there, especially on nights when, both teams are playing their best. It could be a little small thing that happened on the ice, could be a bad line change or whatever. That could be the difference in you making the playoffs or not making the playoffs. So, it's great to start out 4-0. But in hockey, you always say, you truly do get punched in the mouth at some point, and it was good for us to get punched in the mouth. I would rather have not done it on our home opener with a packed house, but I think the guys got to learn from it, and that's what it's all about. You got to learn from wins, you got to learn from losses, and I think that bounce back win on Sunday, we need to carry that into Bismarck, who hasn't felt any adversity yet as far as wins and losses go. They've been winning every game they played, and they're a good hockey team. And Garrett Roth and I go way back. We've known each other for a long time, even before I was a coach. I've known Garrett, and he's the one that was coaching in Oak City when they beat us in the championship a couple years back. So we know he's a good coach, and he's going to have his players playing hard. Our guys need to be ready for that.
And you just a quick kind of touch back on that crowd that we had here at Riverside Arena for the home opener. Great crowd, and you can come out. Only home game left here in October, October the 19th against St. Cloud. You can get those tickets right now at tickets.austinbruins.com. Got to get that little plug in. Of course, want to get as many people out to these games as possible, talking with all the players off the ice. They love feeding off of fans' energy. So make sure you come and support the Bruins coming up here on the 19th in October. But going back to what you said about the Central Division being one of the tougher divisions, if not the toughest division in the North American Hockey League, and you mentioned the Bismarck 7 games, perfect 7-0
Mhm.
this season, one of just two undefeated teams. The other undefeated team, also in the Central Division, the 5-0 Aberdeen Wings. The Bruins just in third place right there underneath them in the Central Division standings. Talk a little bit more. You kind of started touching on the Bruins there a little bit. Talk about what you guys have been seeing in this pre-scout and kind of how you are preparing for these 2 games coming this weekend with the trip to Bismarck.
Yeah, well, the Bobcats are, they've been around a long time. I think they're one of the longest tenured teams in the NHL, and they have a good thing going out there. So to go into a tough environment where the fans have been coming for over 20 years, it's something our guys. It's going to be good for our guys to see. When you get to go on a long road trip, it's about 8 hours to get to Bismarck for us, and we'll have to stop to eat. So technically we won't get there for 9 or 10 hours on Thursday. It'll be good for our guys to get away from town, stay in a hotel together, get to know each other on a little bit more of a personal basis. And then, you know, after that, we got to make sure we're ready to play on Friday because they're going to want to jump on us pretty quick. And honestly, being 7-0, they're wanting to stay in first place, and we're trying to take it from them. So that's the message I'm sure Garrett's given his players, and we just got to remember that all of his teams or all those teams that come out of Bismarck usually work extremely hard. So hard work beats talent. I say that to the guys all the time. If you outwork a team, you'll typically be on the winning side of things. And so we got to be prepared for that. We got to make sure we're outworking them.
And with these longer road trips, you kind of mentioned getting out of town, kind of building a little bit of that chemistry between players. How does long road trips like this, and staying the weekend a little bit, staying a couple days, how does it build that team chemistry? And with a team who they've been with each other, this has been we got not a whole lot of returners, just the 5 returners from last year. So still having to build a little bit of that chemistry. But a month into the season, how does a first road trip like this really help build that chemistry?
Yeah, it's once again getting out of town, and we talked about adversity earlier, but distractions are another thing. Um, whether it's your normal daily routine or whether you're dealing with stuff back home, like there's always a little bit of stuff that you kind of have to deal with outside of hockey, right? And so the nice thing about this is we go together on a bus. You ride in this, vehicle capsule where you can literally turn around and see your teammate and talk to them. The guys get to know each other better. Bottom line, they might not have hung out a whole lot yet, and when you got a roommate and you find out, he does whatever before bed, and it's kind of like, wow, you whether you like it or not, you get a little closer to your teammates, and I think it's a good thing. We try to mix up our rooming list with the trips. We try to bounce certain guys around, get them staying with other people, and I think it's a fun thing for everybody, especially when you have it's well, honestly, it's us against the entire town of Bismarck. Normally, you don't get too many fans from Austin that make the trip for 8 hours out to Bismarck. So, when you play in an environment like that where Bismarck fans have been around for a long time, and they're just giving it to you when you get on the ice, and they don't stop until after the game. There's nothing better than going into a place and obviously competing hard and trying to hush the crowd up. And I think everybody wants to take advantage of coming in here and hushing our crowd up. It goes both ways. Our players got to look forward to that, and they got to understand how to play in hostile environments where some guys might get in your ear from the stands, and you got to not pay attention to it. You got to stay focused, and it's gonna be fun for us to get away, to get to know each other a little better, and hopefully go out there and do a job.
Those games are coming up on Friday and Saturday, 7:15 puck drop. If you're not making that trip out to Bismarck, which, like we said, probably not a whole lot of you going to make that 8-hour trip, you can still watch the game on NATV. That's NAHLTV.com. I'll be on the call. You'll just go over to the away audio, and that will, again, puck drop 7:15 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Coach, another episode of the Coaches Show under our belt. Any final thoughts from you?
No, just looking forward to seeing everybody. And was it next weekend? We'll play the St. Cloud.
Next weekend is St. Cloud. We got a home and home against the St. Cloud Norsemen next week. Of course, this show airing every other Thursday. So next Thursday, no Coaches Show. You can tune in to our friends over at Power 96 or KQPR FM for Austin Bruins Insider next Saturday. But we won't be back for 2 weeks for another edition of the Coaches Show. But Coach, thank you for your time again, and we'll see you next time here on the Austin Bruins Coaches Show.